Regina Fleming is on top of things.
Yeah.
She has to be, as a wife, a mother,
Yes.
and manager at work.
We are very frugal. We are very careful with our finances. I drive a car with over 300,000 miles on it because I don't want a car payment.
Which may help explain why the
is
West Linn woman was so surprised after learning she'd been sued over consumer debt. In November, a company called LVNV Funding filed a lawsuit against Regina seeking almost $2,000 in unpaid bills along with interest and fees dating back 5 years ago.
So for something to just randomly show up, it is a big red flag. I would know if this was my debt.
Adding to the mystery, the name and address listed on an invoice attached to court papers was clearly outdated.
I haven't lived at this address for several years. I haven't gone by this name for several years.
So instead of just rolling over, Regina decided to fight back.
These are just some of the documents that I've created to file.
By filing a stack of responses and motions in court. No attorney would take her case, she said. The dollar amount was too low.
A debt owed in the amount of $2,191.
So she turned to ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence chatbot.
These are all of the questions over here that I've actually asked ChatGPT to help me with. So I would go in and say, I'm looking for information on this, or what is a way that I would say this in a legal document?
Even with the help of ChatGPT, Regina figures she spent more than 100 hours researching and writing her legal defense.
Easy. I, to this day, do not know what this debt is for. I don't know if it was a store credit card. I don't know if it was one transaction, multiple transactions. To this day, no one has even told me what the debt is.
LVNV Funding, the company suing Regina, claims it bought the debt from Synchrony Bank. Old debt is often bought and sold, changing hands several times. Regina says she's never done business with a Synchrony Bank and wonders if this is all a case of mistaken identity or even identity theft.
It's as if you're having to prove that you're innocent.
If you look at their language in this documentation, it's very aggressive. They tell me I should have this stuff, that it is definitely me. And in our court system, you're innocent until proven guilty, not with your debts. You are guilty, and you have to prove your innocence. But how do you prove something didn't happen?
Over the past decade, Oregonians have filed more than 4,000 complaints with the Federal Consumer Financial Protection Bureau over debt collection. Of those complaints, 43% involve creditors attempting to collect debt that wasn't owed.
Do consumers have any recourse?
If they don't owe the debt, so if it's not their debt, under current Oregon law, unfortunately, there is not a clear path.
Chris Coughlin, policy director for the nonprofit Oregon Consumer Justice, admits it's hard for consumers to hold collectors accountable for debts they don't owe.
Generally speaking, what advice might you offer to consumers that would find themselves in a similar position?
Well, the first thing is if you get any paperwork from a court around a debt and there's a court date, show up at the court date and ask questions. Don't ignore it. You have 30 days to respond.
When consumers fail to respond, they lose the case by default. Then a debt collector may be able to garnish wages or take money from your bank account.
Bullies target weak people that don't fight back or can't fight back for themselves.
3 years ago, New Mexico's Attorney General filed a lawsuit against LVNV Funding as part of a nationwide crackdown led by the Federal Trade Commission dubbed Operation Corrupt Collector. LVNV sought to have the case dismissed, and in May, a judge ruled in favor of LVNV, granting summary judgment. Meanwhile, the company continues going after consumers. We looked through court records and found last year, LVNV Funding filed more than 2,600 debt collection lawsuits against Oregon consumers, including Regina Fleming.
It's been hours and hours and just so much anxiety.
With claims of unpaid debt and a lawsuit hanging over her head, Regina has been forced to reassess. Her family had planned to move into a larger home. Instead, they'll stay in their apartment.
So my credit score is tanked. So now our hopes of having a family home are just in a holding pattern right now.
Regina admits she could have figured out a way to pay and the lawsuit would have gone away. But she didn't.
No, I refuse to roll over and just give up on this. Just because it's hard does not mean it's not worth fighting. Until people start standing up and fighting against this stuff, it's going to continue to happen over and over and over again.
And Kyle joins us now. Kyle, I mean, you really have to applaud Regina there standing up on principle. I find it incredible she still has no idea what this debt is actually for. What does the debt collection company say?
Yeah, so we reached out to the company behind this lawsuit, LVNV Funding, and they declined to comment, wouldn't answer our questions.
All right, you mentioned some 2,600 lawsuits filed by this company in Oregon alone last year. So it sounds like Regina's not the only one. There are a lot of other companies out there, too.
Oh, for sure. There are a lot of debt collection companies. And it's an issue that affects a lot of Oregonians. 16% of Oregonians have a debt that's been turned over to collections. And unfortunately, a lot of those, they do end up in a lawsuit. Now, the challenge is, unlike criminal proceedings where low-income defendants are represented by counsel, they're given a lawyer. In these cases, they're not. You're on your own. And that presents a whole host of challenges, not only navigating the legal system on your own, but even getting to court for some people is challenging.
Right, and the whole thing, Regina talking about having to prove a negative that she is innocent, rather the opposite of how our criminal justice system works. What about consumer protections? How does Oregon measure up here?
Yeah, so a national consumer advocacy group gave Oregon a D as in dog, grade.
One step above F.
Yes, on protecting consumers from debt collection and debt collection lawsuits. So it's not good. Now, the state legislature tried to address this issue. A bill came up last session. Unfortunately, that bill died in committee, didn't go anywhere.
All right, so maybe we will see some change here.
We hope so.
Kyle, appreciate your reporting around this.